This broadcast is a Stephen K. Media production.
The success of the small business person is the cornerstone of the American economy. Welcome to the Small Business Today Show with your hosts, Cruz and Hughes. The Small Business Today Show is for and about small business advancement and development. What we do for you. We'll be taking your calls as we provide you small business intelligence and mentorship needed to grow your business creatively. Keep listening. The Small Business Today Show with Cruz and Hughes starts now.
Hello and welcome back to today's episode of Small Business Today right here on Blog Talk Radio, where Irvin and I come at you live at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time every Monday through Friday. Guys, the name of this show is called Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, for those of you who may not have ever seen this episode or any episodes like this before. And one of the reasons that we do this is because Irvin and myself are both huge advocates for small business, and not just small business in our local footprint. I mean, we are for and about small business from Anaheim to, give me a
Boston.
city. There you go. I thought you were going to hit me with an A city. But
No,
I couldn't think of anything in New York.
I went to B.
You went to from A to B.
Yeah, that's right. I just went from A to B.
But I wanted to say that I have had a few people, Irvin, that have come up to me and have expressed how much they enjoy what we're doing and what we're giving. And what they most are happy about is that we're not two guys that sit up here and talk about all of the fabulous things that we've done in our long, illustrious careers. We talk about the nitty and the gritty, the dirty, the ugly, and the nasty. We talk about losing money.
That's right.
We talk about being sued. We talk about losing friends and family. And sometimes, very honestly, small business takes you on that path.
Absolutely.
And you have to be dedicated. You have to be ready to toe the rope in which you're pulling. And by that, I mean that it's not always a happy ending.
No, it's not always a happy ending. And quite honestly, that's one of the things, John, that inspires me to stop my day every day and do this show.
That's right. And you think about it. I mean, you get your workday started, and it takes us about an hour and a half to 2 hours every single day to prepare for this 1 hour show.
That's right.
And we do it all for you. We really appreciate the emails that you guys give. We appreciate you signing on and becoming new subscribers to the magazine that we produce. That's called Small Business Today Magazine. And if you're not already a subscriber, you can subscribe for free, and we'll send one each month to your email inbox. And the name of the magazine is Small Business Today Magazine, and the web address is smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com. Now, if you want to join the conversation and talk to Irvin and myself, today we're doing a live show. This is happening live right now. You can do so by calling us at 347-857-3958. Again, that number here to the studio is 347-857-3958. I just thought that we would give some appreciation today.
Absolutely. And you know what, folks, those of you who may be on the Android platform, don't forget you can download our free Android app. You can put it right on your mobile device, and you can take Cruz and Hughes with you each and every day wherever you go. Just go to the Google Play Store. You can search on Small Business Today Radio. It'll bring you right to our app, and you can download that, put it on your mobile device, and listen. You can listen to all of our archive shows or listen to our live show.
And if ever you have a topic that you would like Irvin and myself to cover, feel free to send us an email. You can always reply to us or respond to us. For myself, it's John@cruzandhughes.com. And for Irvin,
it's Irvin, that's ERVIN, @cruzandhughes.com.
And I tell you what, if we do decide to take your topic on as a show, we'll make sure that we send you an email letting you know when we're going to go live and who our guests may be that day if Irvin and myself don't have the type of experience to speak intelligently on whatever topics that you may send us.
Really? That's a requirement?
Oh, man. That happens, believe it or not.
That really happens.
I tell people all the time, I know a whole lot about a very little bit.
That's good.
And I'll give it all to you if you'll sit still and listen. Irvin, I thought today we'd talk a little bit about something that's within the area of your expertise.
Oh, boy.
And that is doing business with the federal government, but not just doing business with, or I don't want to say just the federal government, but any level of government.
Right.
But I thought we'd take it a little further because for those of you who do not know, Irvin is a past, a recovering commercial banker.
That's right. That's good. Thank you for that. Thank you for that.
He's in that 7-step process, you know.
That's exactly right.
But I thought we'd talk a little bit about too. How do you get those contracts financed if you are blessed enough to
Right.
obtain one,
Right.
there is still the issue of money having to show up before
Absolutely.
those contracts finish. Now, I got a good friend of mine who is doing construction right now.
Sure.
And one of the big issues that he has is that Harris County here in Houston has gone through an effort to where they are taking millions of dollars and rebuilding inner city properties.
Sure.
And they have these contractors that are bidding on these projects. And he
Mm-hmm.
says that he won several bids. He had about $400,000 or $500,000 in cash in his company, and took on several projects in anticipation that, you know what, I'll go ahead and spend my money now, pay all of my subs, and within 21 to 30 days, that money would start rolling in as I finish those projects. So then he goes on to tell me 90 days into that process,
Right.
none of the projects have funded,
Right.
and he spent just shy of $500,000
Right.
getting those projects up to speed.
Right.
And he said that now he went from being in the construction business
Right.
to being in the business of going down to City Hall,
Right.
writing nasty letters,
Right.
sitting in everyone's office trying his best
Right.
to get them to start cutting checks. So
Yep.
that, and now he's about a year and some change into this new initiative, and he still
Yeah.
has not recovered
Yeah.
to the point at which he was when he
Sure.
started bidding on these
Sure.
projects. So what do you say to someone who has never done business with the federal government,
Yeah.
or with I keep,
With any
I keep
government.
wanting to say federal. It's not necessarily federal because this is local government in this
Right.
case. And they're looking to spend that much of their own money to get a project going. What are your thoughts? What comes to mind?
First of all, if that's you, stop. Okay.
Okay.
Do not spend your own money. All right. The bottom line is, just listening to what you were saying, John, this thing went sideways from the beginning.
Right.
All right. Quite frankly, if you're in the construction business, folks, you got to remember the construction business is capital intensive. That means that you need to find your sources of capital way before you need your sources of capital.
Right.
All right. Period. End of story. In this case, oftentimes construction companies, especially in the government space, have the opportunity, and for whatever reason, a lot of construction companies don't seem to know this, but you can negotiate. It's one of our favorite words here on this show.
Absolutely, it is.
You can negotiate X amount of dollars, usually some percentage. Every agency is slightly different, anywhere from 3% to 5%, just to cover your mobilization costs. Now, here's the point. If you've gone about setting up your finances correctly, you have a working capital line available to you. And that means that if they authorize, which most agencies will, especially for construction, they know you need costs to cover bonding, premiums, mobilization, and so on.
Right.
So you negotiate a percentage that you can bill for, literally generate a mobilization invoice. And then what you do is you use that invoice once it's authorized. You use that invoice now to draw cash from your working capital or your factoring line, and we'll get into that later in the show. But now you've got cash advanced to you so that you can remain liquid during that first, and here's the part, that first 60 days.
Right.
All right?
Right.
Somebody who is in the construction business, in the public space, who thinks that they're going to be paid in 15 days is naive.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but that's naive. Public money is not designed to move that quickly.
And I'd have to say also, take into account this friend that I'm speaking of. This is a new program. This is something that the city has. They don't have 7 or 8 years or 10 years of experience in funding and doing this type of program. So you have to take into account now you're working with a bunch of people who, number one, are not being paid based on their production.
Of course.
They're not being paid based on how much business they can do.
Right.
And they don't have the knowledge. These are not construction people. So
Correct.
you have to, for myself, I would automatically anticipate that this program is going to move slowly until everyone is aware of what needs to be done in order to get these invoices paid.
That's exactly right. And here's the point. Liquidity is always an issue. It just always is, because growth costs money.
Right.
It just does. And here's the point. When somebody is, especially in a capital intensive business like construction, you really have to plan for how am I going to live without being paid for 90 days.
Right.
If I was designing this financing for this guy, I would say, look, we need to look at how much is it going to cost you to meet all of your expenses for the next 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to expect 90 days worth of expenses for us to set a benchmark to keep the company liquid while all that's happening.
And, you know, and I think not only is that a more viable means of running that running your operation, but I also would advise this individual. It sounds like to me that you put all of your proverbial eggs in this program.
Right.
So there's no way I would have encouraged you to take on that much business,
right?
And just turn your back on just private sector business,
right?
So to the tune that it sucked out all of the available cash that you had in your company.
Well, that's the point. And believe it or not, one of the drivers for people taking out all of their liquidity in their company, and you're not going to believe this because you're a business person, is they're trying to avoid paying interest and fees.
Mm.
All right, so it's like they ignore the cost of not being liquid and trying to avoid interest and fees and then bankrupt themselves. Interesting.
Absolutely. You got to be very careful against that.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk a little bit more about financing government contracts. What are the steps involved? What are the 7 levels of government that Irv always talks about on this show? So if you've never heard this type of discussion before, you're in the right place. If you want to join the discussion, you have questions or comments, not only can you go into the Blog Talk chat room and put your questions in, you could also give Irv and I a call at 347-857-3958. Again, that number is 347-857-3958. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes, which is brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. To get your free copy, all you have to do is go to smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com, input your information, and we'll send you one free each and every month to your email inbox. Stay with us. More in a moment with John Cruz and Irv Hughes.
Turn up the sales on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash, I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. I'm John Cruz, and to my left, and if you're watching us at cruzandhughes.com, you may be looking at my right, but my cohort here is Mr. Irvin Hughes. We're talking today about how to get a government contract financed, and this is one of the things that is definitely within the scope and realm of Irvin's expertise. This is what he teaches. This is what he does for a living. So if any of you are struggling to get government contracts financed, Irvin is definitely a person that you want to contact outside of the show. You could always contact him through our email here through the show at Irvin, E-R-V-I-N, at cruzandhughes.com. But Irvin, if someone wanted to contact you otherwise, how would you tell them to do so?
Yeah, if they want to contact me offline, you want to call my office, you can do so by calling 800-381-0073. Just give me a call and ask your question, or you can email me here at the show.
Now, let's go back to a point that you made in the first segment about mobilization. And you're throwing around these big terms. And for someone who's never done business with the federal government, what exactly does that mean in lay terms? I mean, you're talking about a 5% mobilization charge. And what does that mean?
Well, you started out kind of making an example of somebody that's in the construction business.
Right.
So mobilization, first of all, to be clear, mobilization has to do specifically with the construction industry.
Okay. Specifically?
Specifically.
Okay.
All right. So it doesn't pertain necessarily to the supply side of the house.
Gotcha.
But when you have construction, so just remember this, folks, there are basically three types or groups of things that government agencies purchase. One is goods, two, services, and three, construction services. And the reason why construction is separated out is because construction sort of combines goods and services together, or in the construction industry, it would be called materials and labor.
Right.
All right. So when I say mobilization, I'm talking about specifically for those folks who are in the construction industry. They need to negotiate a percentage just to cover their mobilization costs. And mobilization costs include any bond premiums that need to be paid. Mm-hmm. That includes any payroll that needs to be met, especially if the payroll is required to be certified. Mm-hmm. In other words, you got to prove to that government agency that, yes, you have the money to pay your payroll, because they don't want their phone ringing with people looking for their money. It includes gasoline. It includes any equipment rental required. Any of those startup
soft and hard costs.
Soft and hard costs. Any of those things. There's a percentage that you ought to be negotiating before you take that job.
Now, let's say that the percentage is 5%.
Sure.
Now let's say that I'm the village idiot. Now you got to walk me all the way through this. So now, what happens when I have won or secured a contract? Mm-hmm. How does this 5% mobilization work at that point?
Okay, let's say you had $1 million construction contract, which is a small one.
Right.
All right. And 5% of $1 million is $50,000. Mm-hmm. All right. So you need $50,000. So now what I would do is say, look, I need to invoice you up front before we start this job.
Before anything happens.
Before I show up, I need to allow me to invoice you, and you approve to pay this invoice for $50,000. Now, what I would do is the minute you agree to that, I would generate a mobilization invoice. That mobilization invoice, then I would now turn that mobilization invoice over to my finance company, mm-hmm. like Dominion or any other folks that finance contracts. And what I would do with that is now I would turn that over and I would get an advance against that invoice. I can get cash, sometimes 70%, 80%, sometimes even 90%, depending on my margins. Mm-hmm. Hint, hint.
Yeah.
Advance to me. So let's call it 80% just for sake of math. Mm-hmm. That means that now I could get $40,000 in cash the very next day in my account. Without me having to take any money out of my existing cash budget.
Now, is that generally the only way that this can be done? So is there ever an instance where they being the whichever part of the government that I'm doing business with, is there ever a chance that they would immediately pay me, the contractor, that $50,000?
No.
So basically, I would have to get that finance.
Right. You'd have to get that finance. And that's what I mean by the construction industry is a unique animal, because it's so capital intensive that if it's not set up correctly, the business owner who owns that construction company could really get hurt quickly.
So I issue an invoice to, we'll say, the city of Houston.
Yeah, you would issue that invoice.
They agree to pay it.
They agree to pay it. Now you take the invoice and you finance that. That means that invoice, a copy of that invoice would come to me.
Okay.
Now what I would do is I would arrange to draw off of your line, because we would have set up your credit line ahead of time.
Gotcha.
All right.
Before I even start bidding, hopefully.
Before you even start bidding, we would already know how much of a line of credit you had.
How much time does it take for me to get something like that going with, say, a company like yours?
About 10 days.
Okay.
10 working days.
Now, let's talk about from the standpoint of negotiating this.
Right.
Why would the government agency do this?
Well, because if you're a small business, the government wants to do business with small businesses. Let's just get that clear.
But wouldn't this be a deterrent? Wouldn't this show the government that I don't have the capital that it takes to be able to fulfill the contract, and would possibly hurt my chances of securing a contract?
No, let me tell you what they do to fix that.
Okay.
What they do is they ask you to prove that you have financial capacity. On large contracts, they will ask you to prove you have financial capacity.
Right.
Now, what does that mean? Financial capacity means that they're going to ask you for a copy of your balance sheet. They're going to run some ratios on that and determine what your liquidity is in your company. They're going to run liquidity ratios. But in addition to that, they want to know one of two things. Either you have sufficient working capital in your company already to mobilize this job, or two, you have access to the liquidity you need to mobilize this job. And here's the point, and I thank you for asking the question. The government agencies do not care whether you have the money or whether you have access to the money. They don't care one way or the other.
And so when I talk about a mobilization percentage, this is not foreign language to them.
No, not at all.
They understand what this is.
Absolutely.
And even if I had $1 million in my business, just sitting there doing nothing, I'm still eligible to negotiate this.
You are still eligible to ask for mobilization, period.
Tell me that it isn't worth listening to Cruz and Keys each and every day.
That's exactly right.
Guys, if you want to join the conversation, Irvin and I are talking about getting government contracts financed, and you can call us at 347-857-3958. Again, that number here to the studio is 347-857-3958. Now, Irv, we've talked a little bit about the construction business, and
Sure.
I have a friend that I definitely want you to give a phone call to and see if you can help him out.
Sure.
But now let's take it one step further. Why would I want to go through all of this?
Well, hopefully.
Because it seems like a hell of a lot of work.
Well, construction is a lot of work, but selling to the government is a lot of work. But
That's my point.
But it's front end loaded, though.
Okay.
That's the point. Selling to the government deters a lot of people because they think about the red tape. They think about all the paperwork. They think about all the filings and all the stuff you have to do. And quite frankly, it is a daunting task if you don't have a knowledgeable person walking you through that process. Okay. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of expense, and it's worth it. It's worth it, folks, because once you're in, you're in. That's the point. So, yeah, it's front end loaded. Once you go through all of that, you got to remember the goal of all the certifications and registrations and all the filings and all the stuff that you have to do to sell to the government. Remember, the government is spending taxpayer dollars. It's public money. And so they have to do business with people that they can find guilty of running a legitimate company.
Well, and when you make the point that it's worth it, I think about all of these large companies that go out and fight and clamor and compete for these contracts.
Right.
They're not doing it just because,
no,
it's fun.
Yeah, and they're not doing it because it's fun.
They're doing it because it's profitable.
Because it's profitable, and there's no other reason. I always tell people, there's only two reasons to go to the trouble to sell to the government.
What are they?
Number one, they have the money to pay you.
That's always a good thing.
Number two, they have good credit.
That's always an even better thing. Which means that if they have good credit, I can get those invoices financed.
That's exactly
because the
right.
person who's putting up the money on my behalf knows that they're going to get paid.
Absolutely. I can leverage the government's credit. How cool is that?
So if you're the type of person that is struggling to get private business,
right?
Why would you not position a portion of your company to compete constantly?
I don't know.
For government business?
I don't know. And quite frankly, your business strategy needs to include public and private business opportunities.
Not all of one or the other.
No, you need to do both. Quite frankly, you need to do both. And that's the thing. A lot of times when you start talking to people about selling to the government, John, I'm stunned at how they think I'm saying to replace your existing business model with all government. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying add this.
Well, and I think those are some of the points that you have always championed on this show. And I think another thing that I've taken from you over the couple years that I've been knowing you and doing business with you is that you say that if you're just now venturing out into that government space, start small.
Start small.
Don't get out there and start chasing big multi-million dollar. Start small.
No, start small. And let me just tell you, the reason why you want to start small, folks, is because you've got to build some rapport with the people in the government, and you've got to build a reputation for performance in the government, and you don't want to run the risk of winning a contract that you can't perform on. It's extremely dangerous.
When we come back, Irv, I want you to touch on the 8 steps that are necessary to get yourself prepared for financing, and then I also want to talk about the importance of being certified and all that jazz.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
All right.
Folks, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by SalesNexus.com. SalesNexus offers the best in web-based customer relationship management systems. You can sign up today for a free trial copy of Sales Nexus by visiting salesnexus.com, or you can give our friends a call at 888-267-3589. More in a moment.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cooney is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancooney.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with AnythingInternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to Cruz and Hughes. We're talking about getting a government contract financed. Irvin, let's talk about the importance of being certified and, is that necessary?
Yeah, you know what? It is necessary for those who can do that. And let me just say this. Everybody can do it, all right? There are two things that I want to bring to our listeners' attention, John, and that is registration. In the government space, folks, there are two things you're going to need to do. One of them is register your company as a vendor. It's important that you register with the government agencies and as a vendor. And two, certification. Now, there are all kinds of certifications, and there are 7 different levels of government that you can get certifications with. And so a lot of people who don't play in the government space would think, well, all the certifications that I've ever heard about have to do with race and gender. Well, the truth is that's not true. There's small business certifications you can get. Mm-hmm. There's race and gender driven certifications you can get. Mm-hmm. And then there are veteran certifications you can get. And so what I'm getting at is there's even certifications you can get just because of where your business is geographically. So my point is everybody can get some kind of certification for their business. And the reason why that's beneficial is because the certifications allow your small business to compete with us on a level playing field with people of that same size.
Of that same demographic. For example, if there's a contracting opportunity that's got a requirement for certified small businesses. Mm-hmm. Okay, well, small business, depending on the level of government, might say, well, we are only talking about companies that have sales of $6 million a year and down. Okay. So if you're above that, then you're not considered. You can't compete. So now I'll give you a good example. There's one that's coming out here with one of our government agencies here locally, where there's going to be a renovation going on, but the agency has put a 30% goal saying that 30% of the gross amount of that contract needs to be set aside for a small business. So let's take $1 million, 30% of that, that's a $300,000 piece of that's going to go to some small business. Or a few small businesses,
but they all have to be certified to compete for that portion.
So registration and certification are two essential elements that you want to get taken care of as soon as you know that you're going to start competing in that space.
Exactly.
Is there anything else that someone needs to be aware of? Any other type of certification, if you will?
Yeah, well, not really. I mean, all of those certifications, like I said, you'd have to kind of look at all 7 levels of government and kind of determine which certification is going to fit you best.
Now, when you say 7 levels, and we talk about that all the time, and some people, they start thinking state, local, federal.
Yeah.
That's 3.
Yeah. No, there are literally many levels of government, but I've sort of categorized them to make it very easy for people to remember where they are in the supply chain, if you will.
All right.
And it's federal agencies, state agencies, county and city departments, colleges and universities, independent school districts, public transit authorities, and if you're in a coastal area, port authorities.
And those are generally your 7
levels.
And those are the areas in which you can participate or put contracts in.
Correct.
Okay. Now, then the bidding processes for all of these levels,
right,
I would imagine then is different.
That's correct.
Which means that you have to go to different places in order to get that type of information.
That's exactly right.
Now, how do you stay abreast of all of that?
Well, now what we recommend for our folks, the people who are doing business with us, John, to employ bid research companies. And by the way, don't panic when I say bid research companies. There are companies who makes it their business to do nothing but research bid opportunities and send them directly to your inbox each and every day.
Is that at a cost generally?
Yes, that's a cost, and generally it's about $40 a month.
That's nothing.
That's nothing.
So you can subscribe to all of these various levels.
Subscribe to those, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's $40, folks.
If someone wanted to get one of those companies,
contact me.
And
because I've already vetted them. I know.
You know which ones work.
Absolutely, I know which ones work, and so I'd tell you exactly which ones that you need to subscribe to.
Would you prefer they email you?
Yes.
Give me your email.
My email address is Ervin, that's ERVIN, @cruiseandhughes.com. Send me an email, put in the subject line, hey, I need a referral to a bid research company. I'll send it out to you.
Now, 7 levels of government. You mentioned federal agencies, state agencies, county and city departments, colleges and universities, which I myself, before I met you, did not know that was a level of government, if you will.
Yeah, because it's paid for with public dollars.
Independent school districts, public transit authorities, and port authorities.
Right.
And my registration and certification is good across all 7 of those levels?
No. No. You gotta register and certify at each level.
This is part of that work that you were talking about.
Part of that work. And that's also the thing that keeps a lot of people out of the game when they don't have someone who is educated and adept at getting these registrations and certifications done. And I've devised a system to do that.
Now, before we get into your system, I need to do this across all 7 levels. How long does my registration and certification last for once I've done it?
Once you've done it, most certifications, if you do it the way we teach you, your certifications will be good anywhere from 3 to 5 years.
3 to 5 years. So this isn't something that, if I do it correctly, that I have to do every fiscal year.
No, you should not have to re-register or recertify every fiscal year, because if you do, you didn't do it right.
Now tell me about your system. I mean, what's different about what you guys do at Dominion versus what people generally do on their own?
Yeah, most people go on their own. They'll go directly to the agency and say, hey, help me. And they'll say, help me get registered, help me get certified. And then the government agency will hand them a stack of forms and say, here you go, and good luck to you.
Because honestly, they do not have someone that they've employed to sit there and help hundreds and hundreds of businesses go through this process.
They're not set up for that at all.
So what should I do?
Well, what you should do is contact us and then let us get a model of your business, understand what it is you sell, and then point you in the direction and the highest and best level of government you can go into. And then get registered and certified there.
Now, does your firm only work with companies that are in the Houston and Texas?
No. We do this all over the country. Yeah, and see, most of
So if I'm trying to get an airport deal in Hawaii?
Yes, contact me, please.
Why?
Yeah, if you're in Honolulu, folks, if you're in the Honolulu area, or if you're listening to this show and you know someone in Honolulu and they want to sell to the state of Hawaii or any of the counties near Diamond Head, by all means, have them contact me.
Well, just by the mere fact that you've mentioned Diamond Head, I'm certain that you've done a few deals out there.
Love it.
All right, now we talked about at the break going into these 8 steps. Now, first of all, for those of you who are watching my eyes, I keep going down at this piece of paper because I have a great set of cheat notes here, and this is some coursework that you prepared for the Texas State Comptroller's Office.
That's
where
right.
you taught a class on this very subject, on these topics. And why would the comptroller hire you to do that?
Well. Probably because we've been doing it the longest. We're the longest and most successful privately owned company doing this. Now, when I say that, I'm qualifying my statement, folks, saying privately owned because there are agencies who attempt to do this, and I probably shouldn't say their names, but there are agencies that attempt to do what we're doing in the private sector, and they do this for free. Mm-hmm. We don't do it for free,
right?
But the point is that the results are vastly different.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you get what you pay for. I've heard that at times.
Exactly right. Okay. That's exactly
All right. So we're talking about these 8 levels. Now, this is a class that you teach. Now, the very first one is start by building a very good cost estimate.
Right. Yeah. You know what? A lot of people don't equate building a good cost estimate with being able to get financing. But the truth is, if you don't build good cost estimates, and I'm talking about in whatever you might be bidding to the government,
right?
You need to build a good cost estimate because guess what, folks? It's going to determine what your margins are. And if you're not profitable, you can't finance a contract. You have to have money in the contract.
Now, Irvin, you may not have ever seen this before, but I personally have seen people who are planning to do business with the government that don't know the first thing about the RFP process. They don't know the first thing about where to get their costs and expenses from. They don't know how to develop and determine what their margins are and what they're looking to, what they should be looking to achieve in terms of targeted margins. Where do I get that information? All that I do know is I want to do business with the government, but I don't know how to do it profitably.
Right. And folks, look, your industry, each industry has something called a NAICS code. It's the North American Industry Coding System. That's what NAICS stands for. You can really impress your friends if you know what that means. And you go online, put in your NAICS code, and pull something called the benchmarks for your industry so you can have some idea of how much profit you should be driving in your particular industry, what's good and what's not. Because if you don't do that, guess what, folks? You're guessing. And guess what? Guessing is going to cause you to lose.
I got a friend of mine who is a business consultant, and that was the first time that I personally ever heard of a NAICS code. And as soon as he found out what industry I was in, he just went through, looked up my NAICS code, figured out exactly what it was that I was doing. He knew exactly how profitable I should be, what size companies make, what type. I mean, it just gave him so much information on my industry that most people don't even know exists.
No, most people think their NAICS code goes on to their resale tax certificate or goes on to their tax documents that they send to the IRS, and beyond that, they have no idea why that's there.
When we come out of the break, before we're probably going to have to speed through these other eight, or do this in a continuation show.
Well, I don't know.
But I do want you to mention a little bit more about that NAICS code and where people can get it.
Absolutely, we can do that. You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by Dominion Commercial Credit. Dominion Commercial Credit offers business credit and contract financing for small businesses nationwide. To get more information, you can call today at 800-381-0073 or visit net30credit.com. Stay with us, folks. The education continues right after this.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
Or even worse,
we've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
So how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz. Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is...
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
You're listening to Small Business Today. Visit us on the web at cruzandhughes.com. Here are your hosts, Cruz and Hughes.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Irvin and I are talking about his favorite subject, and we generally pull this topic out once about every 3 to 6 months.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's something that's definitely relative for small business people.
Sure.
I mean, you need to be aware of the possibilities of doing business with the government, and not only just aware of what those possibilities are, but aware of the processes involved,
right,
so that you can do so profitably.
Right.
Because most of the people that I do know who have gotten completely and totally discouraged with doing business with the government sector, it's generally because they just don't know what they're doing.
No, that's exactly right. Most people have not been trained in any way, whether formal or informal,
right,
in how to do business with government agencies. And quite frankly, government agencies really do reach out to small businesses, and they even go to the trouble, some of them actually go to the trouble to try to educate and train small businesses on how to do business with the government. But where they stop short and where they fail a lot of times is they can't get down one-on-one into the detail that's necessary, the level of detail necessary to actually train that business owner to come up to speed on how to do business with the government.
Now, we left off in the last segment. We were talking about NAICS codes, and for the sake of time, I know this is our last long segment. We're going to go ahead and move forward.
Sure.
But if somebody wants to figure out what their NAICS code is.
Yeah, just go to census.gov.
Census.gov.
Census.gov, CENSUS.gov.
And you can do more research, figure out exactly what a NAICS code is, what yours is.
Right.
And then you can also find the information that tells you all about your industry, business size.
That's exactly right.
The area in which you're doing business.
That's right.
What your benchmarks are.
That's right.
So, I mean, there's a boatload of information there for you. So definitely go to census.gov and, guys, find more about what you're doing. Find out more about what you're doing.
That's exactly right.
All right, now let's go to the next few steps. Let's cover as many of these as we can.
Sure. Okay. Well, number two is, we started out, number one, start building good cost estimates. And that means that understand what your costs are so that you can understand what your margins need to be.
Mm-hmm.
And then number two, implement some sort of a profitable pricing strategy. Unfortunately, a lot of people, John, don't build a good pricing strategy because they don't do the research on what the government has paid in the past for same or similar services and products. And that's a problem.
And I can find that out.
Sure, it's public information.
So I should never,
ever
put a RFP or bid in place without knowing
exactly where your prices need to be so you can be competitive and profitable. A lot of people believe, and I literally teach against this, John. It's a soapbox for me.
All right.
Is being competitive does not mean give away your profits.
Yeah.
It means you have to control your costs, which, if you don't know what I mean, refer back to point number one.
Gotcha.
Okay. All right.
All right. We're up to step number 3. We're
number
moving right along.
Number 3, whatever you do, apply for a factoring line. Now, a lot of people are going to fall off their chair when they hear this, John.
Mm-hmm.
Apply for a credit line with a factoring company. A factoring company is not a bank. A factoring company finances contracts. They give you a line.
Yeah, but I have terrible credit.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're not a bank. That's exactly what I mean.
Well, that's what some people would say.
Yeah,
well, apply. I don't have the credit for it.
Yeah, well, you know what? I would say everybody who tells me they have terrible credit, I always say how terrible, and they say, well, it's bad. And say, well, how bad? Well, I don't know. Well, guess what? Don't you know we need to find out? We still need to find out.
Well, does my poor credit stop me from being able to do business with a factoring company?
No, not at all. Not at all. In fact, the reason why I highly recommend you do business with a factoring company is because most companies are not bankable in their early stages, or even if they're an existing company or a seasoned company, if they're growing at a rate that's too fast for a bank, you're not bankable either. So that's the other side of the coin.
So that puts you right back to doing business with a factoring.
That's exactly right. You need to be doing a factoring. You have a factoring line, and remember, folks, factoring does not create a debt. Call me if you got questions about that.
All right.
So number 4. Are we on number 4?
We're on number 4.
How about this one? Negotiate price discounts for paying your suppliers early.
How do I do that?
Well, guess what? Your suppliers should be extending credit to you. If they're not, guess what? Find you a new supplier.
Well, essentially, if they are giving me goods and services in advance of receiving payment for those,
that's right.
They're extending me credit.
That's exactly right, John. And guess what? If you're a small business selling in the government space, since the government is not going to generally prepay you, as we discussed earlier, then that means you're selling on credit, which means if you're selling on credit, you better darn well be buying on credit.
So I should get a benefit, like when I go to my local cleaners in my neighborhood.
Sure.
I get a 10% discount for paying up front before I pick up the
Absolutely.
cleaning. So I can do the same thing with the very people that I need to do.
That's exactly right. And you should be doing that. And again, that's a point of negotiation.
Okay.
All right. And how about this one? Number 5, setting a minimum profit margin on all of your bids. In other words, if you determine from your cost estimates and your research that you can't clear X amount of profit, and here's the number, folks, it's 20%. If you can't clear a minimum profit margin, then walk away from the deal. It's not a deal you can do profitably, and you shouldn't be messing with it.
So, and is that the number that you yourself advise your clients that they should not drop?
If you cannot clear 20%, you probably shouldn't be messing with the deal. Now, again, you go back to your NAICS code because 20% may be astronomical for your industry. Sometimes 20% in one industry is astronomical. In other industries, it's a pittance.
Yeah.
In some industries, 4% is astronomical.
Right.
So you have to go back to your NAICS code because here's the problem, John. A lot of small businesses base their profitability on nothing at all. They're guessing.
That's right.
And you can't guess, folks. You have to know.
Yeah, well, guessing has a bad connotation to it. I mean, that's pretty much what I do when I'm in Vegas. I'm guessing. You put it all on 21 Black.
Yeah. And good luck. And I have 100 chances not to be right.
That's right. So this is the same way. All
That's
right,
exactly right.
We got a couple minutes. Let's see if we
all
can
right.
make it through
Okay.
the rest
So number 6.
Yeah.
You know what? You want to finance supply contracts. In other words, if you're in the supply business where you're supplying goods, guess what, folks? You got to finance those contracts. You cannot prepay for supplies like ever. All right. If you're selling on credit, you can't buy on cash. This will keep you broke. This will drain your bank accounts very quickly.
You become a dog chasing its tail.
Oh my God. You cannot grow your company that way.
So if I'm selling on credit, I got to purchase on credit.
Absolutely. Period. End of story. That is a principle, and it's a law, quite frankly. It's like gravity. You can't bend it.
Gotcha.
All right. Number 7, for service contracts, here's the thing. You got to invoice for completed work and then draw cash against those invoices. That's what your factoring line is for. It's to keep you liquid, folks, until the check comes in. But let me just tell you now, let me just throw this out, talking about these factoring companies, John. Some of these factoring companies can really hurt you. All right.
And that's what a lot of people are afraid of.
Exactly. And that's why you need an expert. Contact me before you do anything with a factoring company, and I'll give you some simple rules to follow to make sure that you've got the right one. Even if you're not going to do business with us, that's fine. I'll give you the rules so you can make sure that you don't get hurt.
And there's nothing better than being able to go somewhere and get the type of information that you need so that even if you did business down the road, you're now, at least you're a smarter consumer.
That's exactly right.
And they can email you at?
They can email me at Irvin@cruisinghughes.com. And that's, folks, that's ERVIN, Irvin@cruisinghughes.com. Hey, you're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. It's brought to you by RingCentral.com. To get RingCentral's virtual PBX for your business, you can give them a call today at 888-716-5022. Stay with us, folks. Get a pen out. We're in the home stretch. We'll be right back right after these messages.
Are you looking to improve your health and well-being? Have you lost your energy and vitality? Do you wake up feeling 10 years older than you actually are? Looking for a doctor who really listens? Looking for a natural alternative to your chronic health challenge? Dr. Dan Cuny is a chiropractic nutritionist who helps restore your health from the inside out using whole food supplements and specific nutritional counseling. Learn more about Dr. Dan's 7 Pillars of Health on his website, drdancuny.com, or give him a call at 713-295-9358.
Introducing the alternative to heavy news. Now at...
Excuse me, heavy news?
You know, Disasters, politics, stock market.
And this alternative is
Coffee News. It's entertaining stories, famous quotes, and family fun. It's light news. Why it's so light, it's free.
Free?
In restaurants and coffee shops all across Houston. So next time you're waiting in a restaurant, look for Coffee News. If they don't have it, tell them to get it by visiting coffeenewshouston.com.
It's light. It's free. It's Coffee News.
With my Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus headset, I'm free. Free to talk to you while carrying a laptop bag, holding a cup of coffee, and fishing for my car keys. Now, you may ask me, Jim, is it really necessary to use the phone while doing all these things? And my answer is it really necessary not to? Plantronics Voyager Pro Plus. It's my so comfortable, why wouldn't I use it all day headset.
Get your Voyager Pro Plus at Plantronics.com.
Turn up the sales on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Anything Internet will evaluate your website for marketing power, for traffic, for conversion rates. We'll figure out why people buy and why people go away. We'll help you generate the correct traffic that will turn into customers and make you money. Turn the juice up on your website today with anythinginternet.com. Turn your website into a web business. 1-800-686-5986.
Very often, people come to me saying,
Stephen, how do I make radio advertising work?
or even worse,
We've tried radio ads before and got little to no response.
so how do you make the radio work for you? Well, you could have a clever jingle.
Come buy my stuff. Come buy my stuff.
Or you may act crazy and loud and have an unbeatable offer.
I'll save you cash. I'll save you time, and I'll do it today, guaranteed.
But these techniques may work for some and not for others. The real key to advertising is to go back to basic marketing principles. Target your ideal prospect, make your message clear and concise, and touch the listener by connecting to their needs. Stephen K. Media specializes in radio advertising promotion that effectively broadcasts your company's message, yielding higher response and better results. As an independent agency representing major talk radio stations, we help you negotiate rates and place your ads targeting your ideal prospect. Call us today at 713-278-9109 or visit stephenk.biz. That's 713-278-9109 or email info@stephenk.biz.
You're listening to Small Business Today with Cruz and Hughes. Follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. We're wherever you are.
Okay, welcome back to the show. Irvin and I have given you quite a bit of information today. We hope that you've taken your pen out and written some of this down. If you haven't, it's always available to you by going to cruzandhughes.com. Again, that's www.cruise, C-R-U-I-S-E, like a cruise ship, and Hughes, Hughes.com. Now, in closing, what do you want to leave the people with? I mean, you've given them quite a bit to make their heads explode today.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what? I just want to leave with our listeners, John. You know what, folks? You can sell in the government space, and quite frankly, you should do what you need to do to make selling to the government part of your overall business strategy. It's important that you do. Your country needs you right now. Small business owners are being sought after coast to coast and border to border by government agencies because now, John, there's simply not enough small businesses competing for all of the contracts that are out there.
Now, why do you think that is?
Well, because it's tough to get financing. You know, a small business owner is not going to go and tell a government agency, well, the reason I'm not going to bid on this is because I'm scared to death I'm going to win it. And then I'm going to have to mortgage the house to pay for it or mobilize it.
And then, I do believe that, simply put, there are people who feel that way, that I'd rather not bid because if I do, then the real work begins. How do I find the capital so that I can meet the need?
That's exactly right. And quite frankly, folks, if you're not set up to sell on credit, don't go to the government space because you are going to be selling on credit. You need to have your company set up to do that. And that's what we do, by the way. I know this sounds like a shameless plug, but that's what we do at Dominion
you've been
Capital.
Pitching all day. So
all day,
don't
man.
Stop now.
No, it's too late now.
You've been throwing them low and inside all day, baby.
I'm hitting the inside corner. Yeah, but no, you want to absolutely get your company set up to do that.
Now, I tell you what, when we come back tomorrow, we're going to talk a little bit about the class that you teach.
Oh, sure.
For those individuals who don't understand most of the things that Irvin said today, he does teach a class very frequently that really goes into all of that, breaks those things down. We don't have time today, but we will get into that tomorrow.
Awesome.
Great show today, my man.
Thank you, man.
All right. Guys, we want to thank you for tuning in to Small Business Today, which has been brought to you by Small Business Today magazine. To get your free copy of what we produce for all entrepreneurs, especially those inside the Houston footprint, you can go to www.sbtmagazine.net or smallbusinesstodaymagazine.com. I'm John Cruz.
I'm Irv Hughes.
And this is a place where we inspire entrepreneurs from thought to action. Until tomorrow, be smart, be successful, and above all else,
be in action.
And Irv and I will see you tomorrow.
Take care.